Good morning. It's Sunday, the third Sunday after Trinity, and for our morning prayer readings, I'm choosing the select second set of propers, 1 Samuel 2 and also Acts 2. We have, first of all, Hannah's song in response to the promise that she'll have Samuel. So her heart rejoices in the Lord. Mine horn is exalted in the Lord. So the horn, again, power, authority, a victory over enemies, salvation, rejoicing in salvation, God's holiness. It reminds me a lot of the Magnificat. It's kind of a predecessor to the Magnificat. The mighty are brought down, broken, brought low, and those that stumble, that are weak, are girded with strength, right? Again, this inversion of things. The adversaries will be broken to pieces. Those that are on the Lord's side, that are meek, that are humble, will be saved by the God's power, actually. And pointing to exalting the horn of God's anointed. So Hannah's son Samuel is going to play a very important role with regard to David, because Samuel is going to anoint David king, and David is a predecessor of the Christ, right? David has these parts where he's like a prophet. He is kind of like a priest, and he's certainly the king. David's priestly thing with his ephod, with the Ark of the Covenant, prophetic, his role in writing scripture, particularly the Psalms. And again, he's king, conquering king. He's the anointed one. His horn is exalted. In the story of 1st and 2nd Samuel, long and convoluted though it may somewhat be sometimes. It's not that convoluted. It's not convoluted. It's just there's a long story leading up to David and how he came to be. And Samuel plays an integral role in that. In Acts, we have Peter's sermon after Pentecost, counting to Christ, Christ's miracles, wonders, and signs, which God did by him in the midst of you. This is a crowd at Jerusalem, right? The nations are gathered, and God and his predetermined counsel and his foreknowledge allowed Christ to be taken and killed at the wicked hands of the crowd, crucified and slain. But then also God raised up, giving victory over death and sin, having loosed the pains of death. For David speaks concerning him. There's the anointed David speaking of his better son. A prophecy, right? I foresaw the Lord always before my face. He is on my right hand, that I should not be moved. Therefore did my heart rejoice, and my tongue was glad. Moreover, also my flesh shall rest in hope, because thou wilt not leave my soul in hell, neither wilt thou suffer thy Holy One to see corruption. Again, Christ not left in the grave to rot, not left in Hades to just be there, or in Sheol, I should say, but rather his resurrection, where he comes forth in life. David foresaw this, the patriarch David, and David's dead and buried, so that prophecy wasn't about himself. It was about a descendant of his. David was prophesying. David was talking about someone who would come later. The fruit of his own loins, Jesus, the son of David, according to the flesh. He would raise up Christ to sit on his throne. And seeing this before spake of the resurrection of Christ, that his soul was not left in hell. So David somehow prophetically saw that this was going to happen. This was granted to him as a revelation, and that was Jesus. And now Jesus is ascended into heaven. He's seated at the right hand of the Father, waiting till his enemies are made his footstool. And so Peter wants all the people to know that all the house of Israel to know that God made the same Jesus the exalted Christ, the exalted Messiah. We need to know that too, right? We need to remember that Jesus is exalted. He sits enthroned in heaven. He reigns supreme no matter what's going on in our life, and in the midst of what's going on in our life. he is exalted, and we'll be exalted in him if we are in him. And that's important. Let us abide in him, draw closely to him, so that we may be exalted in him, no matter what happens in the changes and chances of this life. And that's something to rejoice about and to look forward to as we go on to the rest of this day and the rest of this week. So I'll see you all later tonight.